Buster Posey says that Bruce Bochy won't be returning as Giants manager, other candidates that are no longer in the running, and what should the Giants' identity be going into 2026? That's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Alan Stiles. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics, with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now. I also host a show on Sacktown Sports 1140, the Alan Stiles Show, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Be sure to check that out, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are discussing the press conference that Buster Posey and Zach Manassian had, where they said that Bruce Bochy won't be returning as manager, but could get another role within the organization. Other candidates that won't be getting the call either, and what the Giants' identity should be going into 2026. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So in a press conference on Wednesday, Buster Posey clearly and decisively shut down any speculation about Bruce Bochy returning as manager. Despite Bochy's storied history with the San Francisco Giants and his own openness to a conversation, this is what Buster Posey had to say. The door is always open here for some sort of role, but I don't see us going that route with Bochy. He also said he didn't know what Bochy wanted to do next in his career, if he even wanted to continue to manage. That statement marks a deliberate move. Posey isn't dismissing Bochy's value or contributions. He repeatedly acknowledged and respected his legacy, but he is drawing a line in the sand. The next managerial hire is meant to move the franchise forward, not revisit old chapters. And I think that's probably the right thing to do at this point. Obviously, we have fond memories of Bruce Bochy, and we appreciate everything that he brought into the fold. But it's very clear, number one, just based on age, that Bruce Bochy probably won't be managing anywhere for a lot longer. And Buster, with how many manager changes have happened within the Giants organization, Buster doesn't want that to continue. Right. So he wants to make a decision and stick with it. Very similar to if you're dating somebody and you say, hey, I don't want to keep dating people. The next person I'm going to date, hopefully I end up marrying. I don't want to casually date anymore. Seems like the Giants don't want to casually date these managers anymore, and they really want to find something that sticks. Posey emphasized that while Bochy is welcome in some organizational capacity, he's not part of the managerial candidate pool this time around. That echoes a vision the Giants laid out when they parted ways with Bob Melvin. They want someone with a, quote, different voice and obsessive attention to detail and a long-term mindset. Keep that in mind as well. And we had talked about, could Bruce Bochy be a stopgap, something like that? That's just clearly not what they want. This decision also reflects practical considerations. Bochy is 70 years old, and while his reputation is unmatched, the Giants appear to prefer someone who can steer this team for years to come. Calling back to modern trends, Posey wants a manager in sync with analytics development and a more modern clubhouse approach, not simply a legendary figure. And I don't think this is a negative thing at all. If anything, I think this is probably the right way to go about it. Yesterday on the show, we went back and forth on the pros and cons of having Bruce Bochy, and I saw all of you in the comments. Again, I always appreciate you commenting and being part of the conversation. A lot of the comments said, no, thank you. Right. There were definitely some of you saying, hey, Bochy is a legend. I'm always going to want him to come back. But there was also a good bit of you saying, I don't necessarily need to see this story again, because my thought process was there's no way this is going to be better than the first time around. Right. And if it's not going to be better than the first time around, should we even do it? Should we even put everyone in that situation? And Buster Posey kind of felt the same way, on top of the fact that he didn't think that, I don't believe he thought Bruce Bochy would be able to do it for a long period of time due to where he's at in his career and in his life. So they decided to open the door to Bruce Bochy the same way they've opened the door to Dusty Baker. I see Dusty Baker pretty often at Sacramento River Cats games. He's always around Sutter Health Park. So something similar to that, but the idea of Bruce Bochy being the manager moving forward, Buster wants this next manager, the same way when you're renting a place, right? When you decide to buy a home, you want to be in that home for a long period of time. And Buster doesn't want to be buying different houses and trying to flip them and do a bunch of stuff like that. When they buy their next home, when they get their next manager, they want this person to be the number one skipper, if you will, moving forward for years and years to come, because they do have a lot of young talent coming up. They do have a pipeline and a good farm system that is being built. And they want someone not only that resonates to those younger players, but someone that is going to be there with them throughout this process. And you can be excited. Oh, I can't wait to get to the big leagues to work with, enter whatever their name is. So I think this is the right move. I don't even know if it was a pipe dream, because I think that Buster Posey and Bruce Bochy, they had good conversations and Bruce Bochy was open to it. I think it was just a matter of Buster making another fairly tough decision. And we know the Giants are very connected, as a lot of organizations are, to players and coaches that have left them with lasting memories. Buster Posey is in that seat right now. And no disrespect to Buster Posey, but he didn't really have a ton of experience doing this, but everybody likes him because of the memories that he made as a player, and organizations do this all the time. So this would have been a really tough spot for Buster if it didn't go well. What's the type of leash, if you will, that you give Bruce Bochy if they went in the wrong direction and it didn't go well in year one? It would have been a dicey situation, and I think it would have been, hindsight being 2020, a bit of a gamble, and it would have put Buster in a difficult spot. The same way yesterday we talked about how it would be, there are some safe decisions and some decisions that aren't as safe, the more gamble filled or gamble parallel type decisions. I think that Bruce Bochy actually would be more of a gamble than it initially feels like, because if it doesn't work out, that puts Buster in a really difficult situation. If it didn't work out in year one or year two, now you have another 2-year window where you're having to make a decision. And we know for a fact that at this point in time, that is not what Buster Posey wants to do, and he does not want to keep on filtering these guys through every 2 years. Let's discuss who else Buster mentioned as far as not being in the running for the Giants manager position, and someone else who isn't necessarily out of the running, but things are starting to shake in a way that he might have somewhere else to go. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. But actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact seats from that view before buying. Know your total upfront. Fees are included with no surprise fees at checkout, because I absolutely hate that. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Game Time today. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you could end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Maximizing investments, increasing your savings rate, easily reviewing finances with your partner and or financial advisor, keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week and long term. That's how I'm using Monarch Money right now. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Okay, with the definitive no to Bruce Bochy from Buster Posey for the manager role, the group and the pool got a little bit smaller and more focused. As Buster said, the door is always open for Boch, but they're going to go in a different direction as far as the manager is concerned. So, with that being said, let's discuss who is still available and other guys that may not be available either. Beyond Bochy, it has been noted that there was another important decision made and talked about during this press conference. None of the current Giants coaching staff will be interviewed for the manager vacancy. That means veterans like first base coach Mark Hallberg, once considered a possible internal candidate because of his connection to Buster Posey and the organization, are effectively off the list, at least for this hire. With those names removed, the picture becomes clear. The remaining candidates will likely come from outside the present staff, favoring fresh faces with experience or upside. There are names that we talked about yesterday: Skip Schumaker, Nick Hundley, Craig Albernaz, and others like Rocco Baldelli, David Ross, Luis Rojas, and possibly younger voices as well, like my guy, Tony Vitello. The name that is starting to maybe not be as clear as far as whether or not the Giants will have an opportunity to add this person, Skip Schumaker. Now, let's discuss where Skip Schumaker is right now. He's with the Texas Rangers in a senior advisor role. So there'd have to be some type of conversation there. Obviously, the Texas Rangers have an opening because they've moved on from Bruce Bochy. So there is a growing belief that Skip Schumaker might be the easy decision to add in there. You saw what he did with the Marlins with a much smaller payroll. That's why I think it was so impressive, and he won Manager of the Year. Now he's with the Rangers, who have a much larger payroll. They just won the World Series with Bruce Bochy not too long ago, so a lot of people seem to think that the easiest move would be for Skip Schumaker to just become the manager with the Texas Rangers. So he's not technically off the list the same way that Hallberg is, because they're not interviewing anybody internally or from the current coaching staff, even though that coaching staff, by the way, will have an opportunity to return once they hire a manager. They're going to at least tell the managers, hey, we like all these guys, so feel free to retain them if you want, or you can bring in your own guys, but they're not renewing those contracts. That's also a note. But as far as Skip Schumaker is concerned, who, as I said yesterday, was probably number one on my list just because he's proven. He seemed to be that kind of in between being a younger guy, but also having some of that experience already. Seems like Skip Schumaker, he could be pulled away. It's not going to be easy, but seems like Skip Schumaker might just make more sense to stay right there in the organization he's currently helping out and working in out there in Arlington, in Texas, and become the manager. So he's not off the list, but some people think that it would be a bit surprising if he was able to get pried away from Texas to go to the Giants or anywhere else. And another team, when you talk about the big brands and who the Giants are battling with, the Braves. So the Braves, they moved on from Snedeker, and now they are looking for someone. And there have been a couple names connected to the Braves that I know a lot of you were excited to share. I was going back and forth with a buddy of mine today, who's a bigger brand between the Giants and the Braves. Me personally, I'm going to say the Giants. Now, who's a better? It's funny because they're both in really tough divisions, right? The NL East is really tough. If the Mets ever figure it out, obviously you have the Phillies. So they're both in really tough divisions. And obviously you have the Giants in the NL West and who they have to deal with. Who's a bigger brand? Who's in a tougher division or who's in an easier division if you're trying to look at it that way? Who's got a better roster? I really like Acuna Jr., but it's just really hard for him to stay on the field, and they had some issues there coming back and changing him in the lineup. So I'm always going to say the Giants because, look, the Giants are kicking off the 2026 season against the Yankees. It doesn't get much bigger than that. So I'm always going to say the Giants, but if you are a manager looking around at the different options, the Angels, there's some openings that are just going to be open every couple of years. They can't figure it out. The Angels, a couple other teams. As far as the Giants are concerned versus the Braves, I think off the top of my head, and we'll go through it in detail throughout this offseason, that's the biggest competitor that the Giants would have for some of these bigger names, unless there are connections. And I think the Rangers are up there too, because you have the conversation of who's got the better roster. You have the conversation of who is just the better situation. And I think the Giants are kind of stuck in the middle there. I do think having Buster Posey at the helm really helps. I think a lot of people like Buster Posey. A lot of people respect Buster Posey. So I do think that's a huge deal as well. But some of these names, Mark Hallberg will not be, as far as we're concerned, and as far as of today, I guess you could say, he will not be the next manager for the San Francisco Giants, because the Giants are not interviewing anyone from the current Giant coaching staff. They don't necessarily want them to leave, but they are not looking to promote internally. And I think it's a bit interesting. I joked yesterday about the pipeline for single A, double A, triple A coaches, managers, and where are you trying to go from there, right? When's the last time somebody bumps from a single A, double A, or triple A and then becomes the manager for a team? You'll find guys that were never managers, but they had really good baseball careers in the majors. So the internal thing is always a bit fascinating because it doesn't happen a ton. And when I say internal, that's the coaching staff and not necessarily somebody like a Buster Posey or somebody that was really good for a certain team to go on from there. So Mark Hallberg is not going to be him. And the word on the street is that Skip Schumaker, it would just be much easier for him to take the job with the Texas Rangers. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Doesn't mean that he won't end up on the Giants. Obviously, like I said, that's who I would like. And some people are talking about Stephen Vogt and guys that are still under contract. But as far as guys that aren't under contract, like I said, Schumaker is a different situation because he's not currently a manager. So it is a bit different there. So those are the names that are still floating around. Some of the names that are no longer floating around. So we're just using process of elimination here. And I'm sure each and every day other names will get eliminated just based on who else is available and who takes other jobs as well. One more segment with you. Depending on who that manager is, that could decide the identity for the Giants. But from my perspective, what should the Giants' identity be in 2026? Don't move. One more segment, Locked On Giants, coming up. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. What I love about FanDuel, look, let me tell you right now, I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today to get started. I've been reaching for my new favorite pants almost every day. My Doer jeans. These are the most comfortable pair of jeans I own. I almost forget I'm wearing jeans to begin with. I wear them to work, running errands, and just chilling around the house. They're antibacterial, meaning they stay fresh longer, so I can wear more and wash less. The jeans are made with Cool Max that regulates your body temperature and wicks moisture. Keeps you cool and comfortable as temperatures change. Great for any season. Doer combines the classic jeanswear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It's the best of both both worlds, designed to look great and stay comfortable all day, no matter what you're doing. Duo are pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing. They invented the original performance denim. There's a reason why they call them the world's most comfortable pants. But don't take our word for it. Go try on a pair for yourself. Duo just opened a store right here in Hayes Valley so you can feel the difference firsthand. Go check them out at 567 Hayes Street. Mention our promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order. Or check them out online at shopduer.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. That's shopduer.com/LockedOnSF. What should the Giants' identity be? The San Francisco Giants ended 2025 at 81-81. No playoffs again, no identity. And if there's one lesson from the teams playing in October right now, it's that identity matters. Every playoff club has leaned into a clear formula. The question is, what should the Giants' formula be? Look around this postseason. The Dodgers and the Yankees, they have that firepower with the deep lineups, stars up and down the order, slugging teams into submission. That's not who the Giants are. Well, they were for about 3 weeks. So at least not yet. On the other side, the Guardians and Brewers have leaned on elite pitching and the airtight defense to grind out wins. That actually feels closer to San Francisco's potential and the model that it's been in the past. Logan Webb at the top of that rotation. And of course, guys like Patrick Bailey, and you have Willie Adames, Matt Chapman locking up that infield. I know the outfield's another question. And that kind of goes to the conversation of, do they have the right pieces to build an identity? But then when you see other teams like the Phillies who strike a balance with athletic young stars supported by veterans and a huge payroll, blending power, speed, and timely hitting, that might be the best template for the Giants. They already have most everyday positions accounting for going into 2026, but they need to choose. Will they build a run prevention juggernaut like Cleveland or invest more in bats to keep pace like LA and New York? The bottom line, the Giants can't be average across the board again. In 2025, they were middle of the pack in hitting, pitching, and defense. Going into 2026, Buster Posey and the front office need to pick a lane. Do they double down on pitching and defense or start spending to build a real middle of the order threat? Because as this postseason shows, identity is the difference between October baseball and going home once again at 81-81. So obviously they spent some money. They have the meat and potatoes. Willie Adames, we finally got the 30 home runs. Matt Chapman, I don't know if Matt Chapman is a true middle of the order guy. I think he's really good if he's hitting lower in your lineup. I think he's pretty good if he's just right there in the middle of your lineup, but I don't know that he's elite enough hitting the baseball. I know a lot of you want to see Matt Chapman lead off, hit one or even hit two, but you do have the meat because you have Rafi Devers, who you cashed out on, right? You have Willie Adames, who you cashed out on, and you have Matt Chapman, who you cashed out on. So those are your kind of three horsemen as far as big money, big power, right? And then you have whatever Bryce Eldridge is going to be. They spoke about Bryce Eldridge. He had a bone spur removed, but he should be good. I know they said the plan is not for him to be the starting first baseman going into 2026. They said they just want to leave it open, and they want the best situation for Bryce and the best situation for the Giants. But you do have some big boppers in there. The Jung-Hoo Lees of the world. I know I'm trying to be nice to the Jung-Hoo Lee, but you are looking for table setters. A lot of you want Stephen Kwan, and we have plenty of time to talk about the different free agents, even non-free agents, when you're talking about trades that the Giants could go after. I think that's what they're missing, right? I like Drew Gilbert, but he's not really he is top of the order, and he does bunt, and he does some of those things, but I just think you need more. Right, Jung-Hoo Lee, maybe they'll try him again at leadoff. I'm really excited to see what Buster thinks of Jung-Hoo Lee so far. Is he really going to be a 6-7 hitter his whole career, or is it a situation where he does take another leap, with this only being his first full Major League Baseball season? So can you see Jung-Hoo Lee leading off? I think they have enough in the meat of their lineup between the guys that I just mentioned. They probably need one more solid power threat in there. Could that be Elliot Ramos? Could he start to get more loft on his swing? Maybe, because that would be my question, right? Do we really need Elliot Ramos hitting and I'm a batting average guy, so I can't believe I'm saying this, but do we really need Elliot Ramos batting 270? And he got to 20 home runs, so he's got the power at Oracle Park, mind you. So with that being said, do we really need to see Elliot Ramos, who doesn't steal bases, right? He's got good speed. He doesn't have elite speed. Do we really need to see Elliot Ramos hit 270 and 20 home runs? Or is this a conversation and not steal bases? Or is this a conversation where you say, hey, man, as much as Will Clark and a lot of people don't like it, we're actually cool with 240, 250, and let's see if you can start to be a 30 home run a year guy. Let's just focus more on gap to gap, launch angle, getting it out of there. Because I feel like the same way the Giants have to pick a lane, they also have to pick a lane with some of their hitters. Casey Schmidt, to me, it's going to be his first season kind of coming in as a starter. He can sit there in your 5, 6, 7 hole and just be there, Casey. Just hit the baseball. I don't want to worry about Casey right now. But this will now be Elliot Ramos going into year 3 of locking down left field. That's what we're assuming. Maybe they make a move. So who are you going to be? Right field, obviously, we don't know if the Giants are going to go get somebody or if they're just going to see what Drew Gilbert or Encarnacion, any of those guys can do. Encarnacion, we know he's got the power. Do they want to take a gamble at 2 positions with the second base and, with Casey Schmidt? We know how that went with Tyler Fitzgerald and also right field. Or do they want to bring somebody else in? But they are close. If you're asking me what their identity is, it's probably just something in between because Willie Adames was really good defensively to end the season. He was kind of shaky to start. We know what Matt Chapman is. Casey Schmidt has a lot of good flashes. Jung-Hoo Lee is a bit, the outfield is below average. It is. I think Jung-Hoo Lee is an average center fielder and could probably be above average in the corners, but the combination of Jung-Hoo Lee, Elliot Ramos, and whoever is in right field, even if it's Drew Gilbert, he's above average. That still gets you to average maybe, and if he's not playing, unless it's Grant McCray, if it's Encarnacion, that's a below average defense in the outfield. So, and obviously we know Patrick Bailey, Gold Glover, he's elite behind the dish. So I think your infield is average with an above average ceiling. Your outfield is below average with an average ceiling. And the pitching, you got to go get your pitching. So I don't necessarily more in the rotation, and of course the bullpen. Go get back Tyler Rogers. Bring him home. Might not be bringing Bruce Bochy home. Bring Tyler Rogers home. So I don't know if they can just be the grind out defensive team. They're not built like that. And on the other side, I don't know if they have enough power hitting to just blow you out of the water. I think that you have to end up somewhere in the middle where, hey, we're a team that we can get to that 5-run mark every single game. We're going to take care of business. And then from there, hey, does Bryce Eldridge figure it out? Like I said, Elliot Ramos, does he start to get more loft? Or do you like him at the leadoff role? Cool. I just think that there's not enough. And Matt Chapman, I'm not saying he's not worth the money because defensively we know he's a dog, but I just think that the Giants right now, my favorite word, they're just tweeners. And I don't know if they can power or make a decision to not be tweeners based on who they've already paid. So I just think it's a combination of everything. We can continue with the identity conversation as the Giants make moves and make some decisions on position players and obviously the pitchers as well. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @the_Styles File, Styles with an I. Also follow our Locked On Giants account. We really appreciate it. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen. For your second listen, and thank you for listening every day, by the way. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until the World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.